me and Ray. That's me and Ray. Linda, who is back there, works for me. Linda Youngworth told me I better bring a clothespin to keep on my finger because this is probably going to be one of the toughest speeches I've ever given. But it's from my heart, and I need you to know that I will miss Ray. I already do. It is true that when I worked for the city, I came to a meeting and signed up to speak. Ray was chairing the meeting. However, there were two sheets, one for the community and one for others. When I rose to speak, Ray told me I was out of order and would have to wait till the community and the neighborhood was heard. That was Ray, making sure that all things had fairness, equity, and the people's voices were heard. I'd already seen Ray in action at a DFL meeting, speaking with eloquence and dogmatic zeal to make sure the rules were debated, understood, and then followed. If you agreed with him, great. If not, he would not go quietly into the night. But if you followed this man, Ray Sammons, over the years, he was always a champion of progressive openness and equality. Outside the city council and county board chambers and the courthouse, there are plaques that herald the neighborhood honorees, activists, and community leaders. The very first plaque is this big plaque, and it's handwritten by someone with much better handwriting than I. And there you will find the name Ray Sammons. Out of thousands and thousands of residents, he was among the chosen, the few to be honored, the best. This was our East Side guy. He loved his taxi cab job. He liked his bosses and fellow workers. When the taxi cab issues came before the city council, he was passionate that the neighborhoods, that the residents did not take a back seat to the airport and more lucrative fares. For literally that would have redlined the residents, many of whom had no cars, were seniors, disabled, ill, with modest incomes, and or were transit dependent. He was passionate, he was prepared with his facts and figures, and as his council member, I listened, and he prevailed for the people, not for his wallet, but for the heart of the people. Many an hour, and Ray and I spent at the state fair in a very small place called the Ice Cream Booth. This was his personal way of making sure that he had his elected official in a confined space. He said that every year. He spoke lovingly about his mother, and when she was dying, his siblings, and especially his nieces. From his sister pursuing higher education to the recent wedding of one of his nieces, he was so proud of them. And as I told his brother, he was so glad that you had convinced him to go to high speed. He was trying to get me there. Now, I who had owned a 236, he wanted me to get a new computer too, because you had given him one of yours. He said he came from a very smart family. He would say he was just a taxi cab driver. But as you've already heard today, his intelligence and his added research capability may never have been realized until today. He was smart and had a history of politics and the neighborhoods that would have made scholars blush. Ray Sammons and I had many a talk on religion and how equality and justice for all were truly the calling. He loved to sing and believed that singing was not to be in harmony. But each was a way to praise God by the bass, the baritone, the soprano, and the alto to blend and make sure they used their individual talents. As in Isaiah 55, "For ye shall go out with joy and be led forth with peace, and the mountains and the hills shall break forth before you unto singing, and all the trees of the field shall clap their hands." As I said, this is really very hard for me because Ray was very special to me and a very special man. One of the things, and I was encouraged by James at going in and include this, one of the things I shared with him in our events at the State Fair was that I love to ride the carousel. It was originally at the State Fair. I would ask him to go on a ride with me. The first few years he refused. But after 3 years, finally said yes. Now, as you can see, I'm not so tall, so I would always have to get the horse lowest to the ground. Okay? Well, so did Ray, so we couldn't ride side by side. So we would always have to search for the lowest horse, and yet I will always remember seeing him smile as we rode those horses. And as the carousel spun and the horses went up and down, I will always remember him smiling. So the next year, as we closed out our shift, I said, "Guess what I want to do?" He said, "Well, I guess it's time. We've got to go to the carousel." And off we went to the carousel. In my heart, I know that Ray will fit into heaven. He will always have all the directions in his head to help others coming there. He will always be singing in the choir and have a solo part with that incredible voice. He will also be keeping the protocol and the laws of fairness and justice. At the last East Side cleanup, Ray and I spoke together, and I said to him, and this is an honest truth, I said, "Ray, I truly like you." And we went on to prepare to go on the carousel this spring at Como Park. Ray, this is to him. I know that the Philippians 4 passage you knew well because you lived it. Finally, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue, if there be any praise, think on these things. Those things which you have learned and received and heard and seen in me, do. And the grace of God and the peace of God shall be with you. Ray, my staff, Linda Youngworth, Mark Verding, and my city council assistant, Joe Collins, we will never forget you. And I thank you for being our East Side guide, our friend, and our vanguard. Thank you.